Okay, welcome to another quick little review of some top skills for high-performing directors of development and how to find those when you are in the recruitment process for your next director of development. So we'll start with some skills that I think are quite important to look for. So the first one is strategy. I think strategic thinking and strategic planning is a really important and core skill for any director of development or experienced fundraiser. And what I really mean by that is understanding of the how and the why in terms of developing a path to a particular goal. Be it it's a particular donor that needs to be asked for a certain gift, or whether it's developing a program, but really is going beyond specific actions and talking about the strategy, or in other words, the how and the why things are done. And a good question to ask during an interview that might get to that is, tell me about a donor you solicited multiple gifts from and how you build a strategy after the first gift. I think that when you ask a lot of directors of development about their top donor stories, they'll tell you a story about the gift that they're most proud of. But a crucial step of this process is to understand whether they were able to develop a strategy and transition from one gift to another, and what they did in between, and how strategic that approach was to ensure that they're capable of that kind of thinking and process evaluation. Another question that is really important to ask is around emotional intelligence. This is a key skill for emerging leaders, and it's really important both in their work with donors and also in their work with coworkers. And what I mean by emotional intelligence is their ability to read social cues and build relationships. And a quick way to understand that is to ask them what are their top three professional values. It's not so much about the values they state, it's about the self-awareness they have and whether they've done a little bit of reflection to understand what their values are. And that is where increased self-awareness and emotional intelligence can bubble up to the surface. Another one is collaboration. This is one that is important for any role. And when it comes to fundraising, it's important not only in the work with donors, but also because fundraisers are sometimes the go-between program staff and donors, and they need to rally support internally for a number of processes to ensure that they position themselves well in front of a donor. And collaboration really boils down to understanding how trust is built with internal stakeholders. So a good question to ask is, how do you build trust with coworkers? Again, it's not really about the concept of trust is important. It's more about how do you go about it, and how much self-awareness there is about how they go about that. The next one is self-motivation and resilience. Really important, particularly in the climate that we are today. And that really means that someone can handle rejection and recover after failure, and they're fairly self-oriented, motivated, and goal-oriented. Why this is important is because dealing with rejection is something that nobody likes. As humans, we're not designed to deal with rejection quite well. However, we need to go into that uncomfortable part in order to be successful as fundraisers, because otherwise we would always be a bit too timid and not ask and take advantages of opportunities that are on the table because we fear rejection too much. So finding someone who is able to handle rejection comfortably and securely is really important. So how do you go about dealing with failure and adversity is a good question to ask, and listen and understand whether that's actually happened to them in the past and how they've handled it. And the last one I'm going to touch upon is written communications, and not just communications more broadly. In general, experienced fundraisers are great communications, particularly in person, but the written communications skill set is sometimes flies under the radar, and it's really important because if you don't have a director of development that has strong written communication skills, they can struggle with some communication with donors that needs to be written, be it over email, be it in proposal writing, for example, or any other aspect of communicating in writing. So finding someone who's comfortable in that space would ensure that they're not going to A, shy away from it, and B, they're going to be able to not spend too much time on it and agonize over it. So that's an ability to write for a variety of audiences. And a good way to gauge that is to employ a writing exercise, particularly towards the later end of the recruitment process, and ask them to write a thank you letter to a donor or a press release for a gift. And that will very quickly identify how comfortable they are in the process and how well and what their writing style is. Okay, so these are the top 5 skills that I think are important in your next director development hire. And a note about Charity Search Group, we are the most affordable recruiting service in the industry, and we recruit exclusively for the nonprofit sector. And I would say that our director development searches are probably by far the most common type of roles that we fill. And we have more than 3 decades of experience in fundraising and staff management. So we specialize in helping small shops find talented senior fundraisers and executive leaders. We have a very proactive and innovative outreach approach, along with a very thorough screening and detailed candidate profiling. So I encourage you to connect with us at info@charitysearchgroup.com for a free consultation if you are thinking about hiring a director of development anytime soon. Thank you.